welcome to episode 7 of A Holiday in East Lothian. This is the final episode of the series. It's been a long time coming, but these things take time, and I haven't got a lot of that recently. So this episode is going to focus on the local area for which our holiday cottage was based, Port Seton and Cockenzie. Now those are two amalgamated towns, and for the most part this video is going to be based on Cockenzie, and we're going to be looking at the interesting local history of the area, the maritime history, and the natural beauty of the area as well. So to film this video, we went on a walk around sort of mainly Cockenzie, and I took some photos and videos, and part of that walk was on the John Muir Way, which is a 134 mile walk from Helensburgh in the west of Scotland, west of Glasgow there, on the Gairloch. It goes through the central belt, all the way through Port Seton and Cockenzie, and then all the way to Dunbar, which is the birthplace of John Muir. Now, John Muir, a little bit of history about him. Born in 1838, died in 1914. He was the Scots-born founder of the modern conservation movement. So, a bit more information if you want to find out more about him and the John Muir Way walk. That'll be in the end of the video. But for the most part, this video is going to concentrate on the maritime history of the area and the salt pans. So I really do hope you enjoy. Thank you very much. So as the OS route planner suggests here, the walk is 1.6 miles long, and should take around 42 minutes. But when you're walking with dogs, any dog walkers will know that time about goes up by half, and it will do obviously when you are taking in the natural beauty of the local area and reading all the signs along the walk to learn about the history. It'll take a good bit longer, and you do need to take that time to do that. So we started from the cottage, which is pinpointed there on the map. You take a right and then a left to Port Seton Harbour, where you can take some really nice photos of the beaches and the rocks and stuff. It's naturally awe-inspiring there. And then the John Muir Way follows the footpath to the left along the coastline towards Cockenzie. Along there is one or two of the signposts and that you can read about the history of the area on, and then we're going to look at those in a few seconds. And that'll take you along to Cockenzie Harbour, and from there we actually walked to the old power station, and just had a quick look around there, and then walked back along the main street and back towards the cottage. So coming up is the first sign that we saw along the footpath, so take a look and take a listen. Okay, so we've walked from Port Seton Harbour along the John Muir Way towards Cockenzie Harbour, and we've nearly reached Cockenzie Harbour, and we come across this information point. The information point has been put there by the 1722 Wagon Way Heritage Centre, which, by the way, they have a museum with the history of the area and the Wagon Way, which I'm about to tell you about It's open at selected times, and they have an online shop and a website to tell you all about it. So you can go find at the end of the video. I'll post the link where you can go and have a look yourself. Because you can't quite see the writing on the picture there, I'm just going to tell you a little bit about what's on it, but not all of it. I don't want to bore you. I actually want anybody who watches this video, I want them to go do this walk and enjoy the area themselves. So the Seton and Cockenzie wagonway was constructed in 1722 to bring coal to the salt pans, one of which you can see the remains of just around the corner from the east of the boathouse. Now, salt pans, I'll tell you a little bit more about what they are in the next bit of the episode. When we get to the next information point, I'll tell you all about them. Part of the railway ran along behind the salt pan buildings, right in front of where this information point was. So the natural harbour has been fished for centuries, and it was the heart of Cockenzie. Cockenzie itself, the name is believed to have been derived from the original name of the area, which was called the Cove of Kenneth. It's a beautiful natural cove, but the harbour mouth was widened to allow boats to easily enter and exit the harbour there. To the east and west, there are the remains of the salt making industry on the rocks. Halfway down and a bit further along on the eastern side of the beach, there is a stream which runs out from between the sand and the rocks. It is the remains of a watercourse used as a mill. During the 17th and 18th century, and the old mill was situated back along the town there at the top of Marshall Street. Okay, so now on we go. From here we'll go along to Cockenzie Harbour and to the next information point. Enjoy the photo. So we walked along the harbour and arrived at this cove where there is another information board. I'm going to take you around and explain what's on this information board, because the bulk of the information about the area and the harbour is on this one. So we'll start with the top left corner there. The inlet that you have arrived at when you get to this point, it's known as the boat shore. It's a perfect natural harbour, and I referred to this earlier. I said it may once have been known by the Celtic name Coivenot, or I don't know how you pronounce that. Basically, the Cove of Kenneth, and from that we think that Cockenzie, the name Cockenzie, was derived. It became the heart of the old harbour, around which the fishing village grew. The need for the export of coal led to the building of a new harbour at Cockenzie in 1814 by mine owner Hugh Cadell. This helped the local fishermen to participate in the North Sea herring boom of the late 1800s. Each year they followed the shores from the west of Ireland round the Northern Isles and down the east coast as far as Lowestoft and Great Yarmouth. That's an amazing distance. Many of the boats were built in local yards, and by 1877 it became clear that more harbour space was needed. And in most harbours nowadays, there's a lot of harbours that do this. The fishermen decided to set up a harbour fund, which enabled them to build a new harbour at Port Seton, completed in 1880. Now, the harbour at Port Seton, that's right in front of where the holiday cottage is. So that was built because of the fishermen raising funds to do so and increasing the harbour space. So we'll look over the other side of the board now, to the right hand side, and I'll tell you about the coal. There is evidence that coal was can't quite see properly. There is evidence that coal was that coal was mined locally. Sorry, I can't read. As far back as prehistoric times, the oldest usage ever found in Britain, it has certainly been mined there since the 12th century. When the monks of Newbattle were granted a charter to do so, it was the ideal fuel for heating a large monastic establishment. Yeah, I am reading off some cue sheets here, sorry. I did take in all this information, it's just hard to remember it all, and I need to to use these to remind me exactly what to kind of say. I'm sure I'm not on my own when in doing these videos. Other people must be like that. But however, coal. So we're going back to this. But however, coal was not widely used during the Middle Ages, as wood provided a much cleaner and more readily available fuel source. In the 17th century, it wasn't until the 17th century that people began to realise how important coal could be. It was that which had become a very valuable. It was salt which had become a very valuable commodity. As we're going to see next about, I'm going to explain about the salt pans. Well, I'm going to explain that next, and what they are. It became a very valuable commodity in 1623. The 3rd Earl of Wintoun owned. Third Earl of Wintoun created 12 salt pans in Cockenzie, and also increased coal production in the pits he owned locally. He became known as the greatest coal and salt master in Scotland, and built Cockenzie House, which stands behind you, as a home for the magnate, manager of his operations. Following the 5th and last Earl of Wintoun's involvement in the disastrous Jacobite Rebellion of 1715, his estates were forfeited to the Crown and subsequently sold to the York Buildings Company of London. And in 1722, they laid the Seton and Cockenzie Wagonway, the first ever railway in Scotland to transport coal from the pitheads to the harbour. On the return, horse-drawn wagons each held around 2 tons of coal. Get a bit mixed up there. The horse-drawn wagons each held around 2 tons of coal. On the return journey, the horses would pull 5 empty wagons back to Tranent, making around 3 round trips per day. Those poor horses. And in 1745, the Battle of Prestonpans was fought on either side of the wagonway and around the coal workings. On the night before the battle, General John Coe, commander of the government forces, had his military chest containing private papers and soldiers' pay under the staircase of Cockenzie House. After his humiliation defeat, these spoils were claimed by his victorious opponent, Bonnie Prince Charlie. And there is going to be a bit about the Battle of Prestonpans in the next section of this as we go further around on the walk. There is an information point there about that. But until 1779, the miners and salt workers were held in bondage, a form of serfdom or selfdom, which prohibited them from ever leaving their job. By this time, the ownership of the mines had passed to the Cadell family, who were living in Cockenzie, in the Cockenzie house forever. Forever, not forever, for over 200 years, sorry. Dating thereto, they became great supporters and benefactors to the village and its people. The most famous son, Captain Francis Cadelli, who explored the river in Australia and helped open it up to trade, is commemorated in Goolwa Park. Mining ended locally when the high productive Links pit was closed in 1961 to make way for the building of Cockenzie Power Station, which still dominates the skyline. And you can actually go up and walk around in that area. And we did actually on that day. So my apologies for that. I had to use all these cue cards, like I said, and some of them I couldn't quite read the writing. Because of the way the photo printed out, basically. So now we'll explain what the I said I would explain what the salt pans are, and I'm about to do that. So the ready availability of coal and seawater gave rise to this important industry of salt making. Originally, the water was collected in buckets. The salt water was collected in buckets as far out to sea as the workers dared to wade. It was believed the water became saltier the further they went out. So that's crazy how things had worked in that day. What you had to do to sort of try and make a living for yourself, and you've got these guys doing this. Then it was heated on large iron pans until it evaporated, leaving the residue of salt behind. Salt workers were not paid by the saltmaster. He only provided them with coal for the task and expected an agreed amount. The salt workers were allowed to keep any surplus sort of salt stock they produced, and usually they would sell that to local fishermen to preserve their catch. There's a row of houses in this area, which was originally called the Foreman's Row. It was built for the salt workers and is named after the family who continued the salt works until the 1950s. So just there's an interesting story on the bottom of this information board here as well about the box meeting, which is something that occurred at Cockenzie House. So the fishing community was very close knit, being made up of mostly just a handful of extended families. In 1813, the Friendly Society of Cockenzie and Port Seton was founded. Members gave a quarterly subscription towards a fund which could be used for the relief and maintenance of those struck down by illness. So that's quite something there. The society's down by illness. The society's books and the documents were kept in a box with two separate locks. The keys were kept by members of the board management. The annual box meeting at which
benefits were shared amongst the needy. Took place in September during a quiet time in the fishing. It became the focus of celebration, which began with the turning of with the burning of a fishing boat, and concluded with the fisherman's walk, a procession in traditional costume with banners, bands, and much singing and dancing along the route. Although the development discontinued in the 1950s, the box meeting was specifically revived in the year 2000 to celebrate the millennium. So there we go. That's what you can learn from that information point. I would encourage you to go on the walk and take a read of that for yourself. And I'll include some pictures now afterwards of the salt workers' houses as well. You'll see those. And after this, we're going to proceed round to the sort of newer harbour in Cockenzie area, and there are some boats moored up there. An interesting sort of monument that's been erected, and another information. Well, we're going to find out a bit more about the just a tiny snippet about the Battle of Prestonpans there. So as you walk further on from where we've just been, the cove, you will come across this structure around near on the grassy plain area, sort of near the new harbour. And so I'm going to explain a little bit about what it is and sort of why it's there. It's to do with the power station. In 1962, the South of Scotland Electricity Board began the construction of a coal-fired electricity generating station on the Preston Links Fork. So the big thing that you can see if you're on the walk, just a little bit further towards Prestonpans. And a big factor in choosing the location was the readily available supply of the coal nearby. Looking towards Prestonpans from Cockenzie Harbour, the old Preston Links and Colliery and Bing can be seen in the distance. In the foreground, locals can be seen gathering sea coal. That's on the information board. That's also in the picture there. To improve combustion, the coal burner Cockenzie has to be crushed into a very fine powder prior to being blown into one of its 4 boilers. And to achieve that, each boiler was fed by 6 pulverised fuel mills, and each mill contains a top and bottom grinding ring and 10 grinding balls. The grinding balls are sandwiched between the 2 grinding rings and are spun at a rate of 37 rotations per minute RPM. Crushing coal as they go. The grinding ring and balls that you see here processed approximately 500,000 tonnes of coal in their lifetime. This in turn generated around 12 million watt hours of electricity, enough to supply every home in Edinburgh with electricity for around 10 years. By God, we need that now, I think. So, Cockenzie Power Station was formally opened on the 28th of May 1968, and over the years, Cockenzie has used coal mined from many different sources, including local pits at Monkton Hall, Bilton Glen, and Blindwells. And following discussions with the Cockenzie and Port Seton in Bloom, the organised group that they have there, the station agreed to site a small mill grinding ring and some grinding balls here in order to commemorate the area's historical links with the energy industry. So there we go. That's This plaque on the carved out stone here commemorates the two awards that Cockenzie won in the 2002 Scottish Community of the Year Awards. One is for the Community Life Award, the other one is the Older People Award. And from my experience of the people in the town and many times visiting the area and embracing myself in the natural history and the natural beauty of the area, I can certainly understand why it's winning awards. So we're approaching the end of the circular walk and the end of today's episode, actually. We did come across one more information point in the town, and that is explaining something that I mentioned earlier. And I think it's near the War Memorial Gardens area. And that is a little bit about the Battle of Prestonpans. There's a lot more to the Battle of Prestonpans. I'll find some links. They'll go in the end of the video for that. But here's a short snippet of what happened here in the Battle of Prestonpans. So on the 21st of September 1745, the Jacobite army of Bonnie Prince Charlie destroyed the British government forces loyal to King George II to take control of Scotland. This here is about something called the British baggage train. On the 20th of September 1745, the British Army camped between Cockenzie and Prestonpans. The baggage train was collected in the area around Cockenzie House. With its high walls and enclosed location, it's considered to be a safe position. It was considered to be a safe position. The baggage stored at Cockenzie would have included the army's supplies and provisions. It also included Sir John Cope's personal belongings and his official papers. We mentioned Sir John Cope, I think, somewhere earlier. Most important of all was the military treasury of nearly £3,000, a huge sum in 1745. General Cope left a strong guard here. Several hundred Royalist Highlanders were detached to protect the baggage. Their presence reminds us that this was a civil war in which Scots, English and Irish soldiers each fought on both sides. Perhaps Sir John Cope did not trust these Highlanders to fight against their countrymen, or feared that they would be mistaken for the Jacobites in their plaids and bonnets. By posting them here, he ensured they survived the disaster which followed the next day. The main battle was over very quickly. The capture of the baggage was then a high priority for the Jacobites, and soon the Camerons were sent here, and the baggage guard prepared to defend the house against them. A captured British officer, Lieutenant Colonel Peter Halkett, agreed to negotiate their surrender to prevent unnecessary bloodshed. Cope's carriage and belongings were given to the Chief of Robertson's, and as a reward for his loyal Jacobite service. Crucially, the treasury was captured intact, which was a huge boon to the Prince Charlie's war effort. In 1898, General Sir Robert Cadell, who lived in the house, published a strong defence of Sir John Cope's performance in the 1745 campaign. In the red there it says the whole baggage of the enemy was taken, and amongst the military chest, hid under a staircase in Kilkenny House, amongst a parcel of old barrels. So you can see the something quite interesting on that photo. If you care to look at this, the Battle of Prestonpans happened on the 20th to the 21st September 1745, and you've actually got the battle positions on there. So if you look, point A was Cope's initial and third position. Point B was Cope's second and fourth position. Cope C was his final position, and Cope D was Cope D. Getting my words muddled there. Position D was Charles's initial position, and position E was his final position. And the red and blue lines there are showing the lines of battle. As I say, the links for more information on that will be at the end of the video. There is something that we go to that I've been to once called the Battle of Prestonpans. It's actually a reenactment that's hosted on the on the field in just further up the road in Prestonpans. Really interesting thing. All the everybody turns up in all their gear to do the reenactment, and it's quite interesting. There's lots of loud bands with lots of the artillery. The dogs here, we took the dogs with us, and they bloody well hated it. Sorry, I nearly really swear there. Swore there, but so the information on that, I'll get that in the end of the video as well. We continued on after that, just back down the main street to the cottage. Thanks for watching, guys. Hello again. For one last time, this is the very last time you're going to see me talking in this episode. You're probably going to be quite bored of my voice by now. But I just wanted to say that concludes episode 7. That concludes the whole series of my holiday in East Lothian. I really hope that everybody who's been watching has enjoyed all the episodes that I put in. I hope it's been kind of varied and quite interesting, in each one a bit different for you. Please bear with me. This is my first time kind of venturing out, doing this stuff, and I'll only get better in the more I do it. And you know what it is? The more sort of comments I get on these videos, I want people to give me advice and help on stuff. That's how I'm going to get better. So please make sure you give me your thoughts and opinions on these videos, because I'll never know how well I'm doing, and what to chop and change if I don't get that. So just a little bit more information for you on what's coming up. I'm working on a new series this year, and a couple of little odd videos here and there when I go away and stuff like that. But for now, I'm actually working on a new series. It's going to be called Yorkshire and Cleveland, the Hidden Gems. Yorkshire and Cleveland is where I'm from, and if you look for that series on my channel, you'll find out more of what it's going to be about. It's going to be about the hidden attractions of where I live on this very, very busy and popular area of the coast in the UK. So I thought I would do a series of the lesser known attractions that are more cost effective to visit and or cheaper to visit, and just as interesting and just as cool, really. So I'm working on that, and I hope that you, if you watch this, I hope you then go on to watch those and any of the other videos that I'm doing. So thank you very much, guys. I've really enjoyed doing this. Good night.